What's going on, everybody? My name is Riley. Welcome to the Inkster Podcast. I am joined with the founder of Inkster, Danny. What's going on, bud?
Not too much, just excited about this podcast. It's a different time slot. We chose an early morning. Thanks, Kevin. So, feeling good, feeling fresh. How about yourself, Riley?
Yeah, it is nice and early, but you know what? I can't complain because I'm getting the natural light from the windows, so it's making me look good. So hey, it's all good.
Good,
thanks. For people that aren't aware or they need the updates, the Inkster updates, can you tell us what's going on?
Absolutely. So we're about 2/3 away through the development right now, but we have our beta link and it's ready to go. We're starting to invite some people on, getting some slow traction, getting people to sign up, test out some of the features, working through some of the bugs, but things are looking really good, Riley. We are on target for a full launch probably for the summer, so things are moving along and we are so excited. And it's people like Kevin that we want to join us and be part of the family, so having him here today to share some of his experiences is absolutely incredible, and I'm looking forward to having him here.
Oh man, speaking about Kevin, so this is a great podcast because we have a great guest that we're going to talk to in a matter of minutes. So we have a Juno Award winning engineer and producer who spent 14 years in the music industry. He's worked with Glorious Sons, Johnson Crook, great band by the way, side note, and Tom Cochrane. He is the friendliest guy in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Dietz. What's going on, buddy?
Greetings, gentlemen. Good morning.
What's up, Kevin?
How's it going? Are you feeling are you busy with a lot of projects, or is it something that you're kind of like retooling and going from there?
No, I've been really busy. I was just texting with a friend this morning about getting together. We haven't another fellow audio engineer, and we haven't we'll chat all the time over text, but we haven't hung out face to face in almost a year, as is the case with a lot of people, unfortunately, right, with the whole pandemic thing. And I was just saying, I'm slammed over the next 2 weeks, and then April's going to be busy. So it's been really busy. It hasn't been a retooling situation or anything. The first few months of the COVID thing, the pandemic, were a little slow, but then it picked right back up, and I've been fairly busy throughout. So I cannot complain.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing, because we have a mutual friend, Zach Yasin, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But he mentioned that to me. He's like, man, Dietz, he is busy, man. Like, I got projects like ready to go, but it's just a matter of time and trying to fit his schedule. So that's great, man. So how did you get into music? And first, how'd you get into music?
Well, as a kid, I don't know, probably around 10 or 11 years old, I started discovering bands on my own and through friends and things like that. So I became a music fan at that age, really starting to gravitate towards specific bands, going, oh, I really like this band or this song or whatever. And then at age 13, I got my first guitar and I started playing guitar, took lessons, played in a couple bands, just loved it. And that was my thing. I approached music first from like as a music fan and as a musician. That's the music thing. The recording thing came a little later. I was always the guy in our bands that whenever we'd rent a PA system or a 4-track recorder or something and do little demos, I was always really into fiddling with that, and I loved hooking up the microphones and doing all that kind of stuff. And just the idea of setting up microphones and hitting record and then playing something and then being able to hear it back was mind-blowing to me. I thought that was just the coolest thing. And I slowly went down that route and got a little 4-track recorder, a little cassette tape recorder, and a little mini disc recorder, all kinds of weird stuff. Eventually, being able to do a hybrid thing, start making music on the computer. It was pretty rudimentary when I jumped into that area of it. And it really just, I'm not much of a songwriter. I don't, like unlike our friend Zach, I don't like songs just like fall out of him, and he's just always working on music. Me, I'm more adept to working with sound, music as well, but I'm not the one that like creates the song and the melodies and all that. I like to help people with that for their material, but for me, that's not my thing. I don't sit around and write songs. So I just naturally gravitated toward the audio engineering side of things, and just pursued a little bit of education here and there in my hometown. I'm from Edmonton originally, so there were a few spots that I could access to learn about the craft there, and in fall of 2005, I made the move out here to Ontario, to the GTA, to take a year of schooling in audio engineering, and then ended up working at a big studio for 7.5 years. Started as a runner, then an assistant engineer, then a staff engineer, and then the head engineer, and then went freelance, and still doing it.
So you must be doing something right, man. I love it.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, you started when you're early age with the guitar, and I could look at your shirt right now. I know you're a rocker. So, from working with Billy Talent to Tom Cochrane, what got you into the rock scene?
I think rock music was the thing that just drew me in from an early age, and I've always had like a love affair with the guitar as an instrument. I love it. Like even to hold one and just strum around, it feels so good. It's this instrument that's really like an extension of your body. The way it sits on you and the way you play it, it's just my favorite thing in the world. And
so you actually play yours. You don't just let it sit in the back like for decoration like I do?
No, I mean, the thing is, I don't play it as nearly as much as I would like to or should, but like I still buy guitars here and there if like a good deal comes up on one, and I love plunking around on it. I'm thinking of getting back into taking some lessons with a friend of mine, because I get to work with so many incredible high-level musicians on every instrument, and I work with so many just like mind-blowingly good guitar players that one friend of mine, I was like, dude, do you teach? I want to just do some lessons, like just learn some new stuff, because I'm not progressing on guitar. I know the instrument well, but I record guitar players and work with them on their stuff. I don't play as much myself. So I really want to get back into it. I just love it. And
I'd
obviously
love to learn how to play.
Oh man, guitar is great. It's easy to kind of get like going on the basics. It's not that difficult. And then there's just a world of things you can explore. Probably much like any musical instrument, But
how many guitars do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, 5, so you have a lot.
5 or 6. I guess so.
When they have to think about it, right?
Yeah, you have. If you ask me, just two.
Right. Yeah, I had to think. I had to visualize them all. I think 6.
Oh my god.
I think 6.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, when you find a good deal, let's say you have 6, I'm like, in your thought process, you're like, do I need a 7? Oh, I'm like, this deal's pretty good.
Who can pass up a good deal? Who can pass up a good deal? Come on. No, but the thing is, for me, what I really love about it is that, say I did something completely unrelated to music, and I just loved guitars, and I would buy them just to have because I like them and I like to strum around and stuff. That might be more of like a luxury purchase. But for me, I look at it as I can use these on productions. I can I don't want to buy cheap guitars just to have them. Not that I have very expensive guitars, but I have good guitars, so they're very much usable, and I know what they sound like, so they're very much usable. I can bring them into any session. I did an album with a band from Vancouver a few years ago called The Long War, and they're kind of like a rootsy, kind of folky rock type stuff. Awesome band, and they were coming in from Vancouver, so they're like, well, we got to rent a little bit of gear and stuff. And I said, okay, well, I have like, each guy brought his own guitar, and I said, well, I have this, and this as well. So I brought in 3 guitars to the session, and we used them on pretty much every song. Got played with one of my guitars and their guitars and stuff. So that's just great stuff for me to have in my musical toolkit. I just recently, late last year, I bought a very nice boutique guitar amp off a guy that was selling it, and it's worth more than any 2 of my. It's probably worth like 3 of my guitars combined.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, this is a bit much, but I've already been using it on recordings because it's awesome, and I love this stuff. So they're tools of the trade. So of course. I can justify it.
Yeah, no, like that, I didn't put that in perspective or think of it that way, where it's like, yeah, you have 7 guitars, but at the end of the day, you're also helping, the musicians you work with. I'm like, you just said it, like, I have this, like, don't worry, you don't have to rent it. So yeah,
exactly.
It's like just tools of the trade, where you go to like a renovator, they have like everything just in case. So yeah, see, I didn't even think about that. So let's get into the music, man. Let's get into the work. So like I said at the top of the show, you are a Juno Award winning, my guy.
Woo!
Yeah.
Let's go. So you won it from Rock Album of the Year for the Suns, their album A War on Everything. So
Correct.
How did you find out about the nominations first?
Well, I didn't. I wasn't aware that. So for the Junos, the Grammy Awards, anything, you actually, it's not like a panel that goes out there and looks for stuff. I mean, maybe they do in a certain way, but you submit your work to the Junos in order to potentially get a nomination. So in that case, their label and management, Black Box, would have submitted them in whichever category, or multiple categories. They also submitted on my behalf. Like, there's a process to do this, but they submitted on my behalf for to put my name in the hat for Recording Engineer of the Year as well. And that's a similar thing. You kind of provide samples of your work, and it goes to a panel, and they decide who goes through to the next round, and then they decide who they nominate through that. So there's a few rounds of it that are separate, so that it's kind of like an anonymous thing, and then there's a big panel that votes on it and everything. So I knew that they would be in the running ahead of time, or I knew that they would submit for a Juno, because their last album, they also won Rock Album of the Year 2 years prior to that one. So the nominations, it's just like they come out, and if you're in the industry, or you follow Junos on social media or whatever, these things get announced. And so it wasn't like really just through sort of the normal channels I found out about it, and I was very pleasantly surprised, because I was like, well, that was my one. I didn't get a nomination for Recording Engineer of the Year, unfortunately, but Glorious Sons got for their album, which I was the engineer for, therefore. So I was excited about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
Kevin. Yeah. I remember Zach telling me about the whole process and how he was super pumped for you, and just the whole process. And then when he got that news of, the Suns winning that award, winning Juno, like, how did you process that? Like, was it like you're sitting there, I'm like, yeah, no, it's not real. This is not real. Like, what?
Oh no. No, like I was the number one thing is that I was just so grateful and whatever to be involved in a project like that was going to get a lot of traction, that a lot of people would hear, with an established band. That's always a great thing. Just doing good work on good music is, that is the job. So at the end of the day, that's kind of the main thing that I hope to accomplish. Anything that comes after that, it's great. And yeah, I'm so happy and so fortunate to have been part of that, and therefore, able to get a Juno, get the actual statue for my role in that. That was awesome. I was actually getting a haircut in my kitchen when the Junos were on, because the Junos got the Junos usually happen in, I believe it's always in March. Like the Junos are coming up at the end of March here. In like 2 weeks or something. They're coming up. But last year they got the whole thing got called off like 2 days before. The arena and everything was all set up in, I believe it was in Saskatoon, and they called it off 2 days before because it was right in the early stages of the pandemic, and no one really knew what was going on. And it was just at that wave of people starting to cancel or reschedule everything because they didn't know what was going on. So the Junos pulled the plug like 2 days before, and then I don't think it was until like June or July that they put it all back together and did like an online thing for it. And it was right in the time when stuff was like opening back up. So there were patios and stuff were open and all this. So me and my housemate Jay were getting haircuts in the kitchen, and we had the Junos on the iPad streaming the Junos.
So what you're saying is you had your private barber at the house cutting your hair while you found out that you won a Juno Award.
Yes. What a lavish
what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Nice.
Again though, man, it's like I think about that, like I tell that story and I think, how fortunate am I? I'm
absolutely.
I'm hanging out doing my thing, and it's great. I'm very fortunate.
Kevin. Yeah, good work.
Very grateful.
It's amazing.
Man, that's a winning story right there.
Sure. And then we went out for beers after on a patio. So it was
you
great.
did.
Simpler times.
Oh, yeah. Those were the good old times.
Good old days.
Good old days. Yes. So for people who are outsiders looking into the music industry and aren't really aware of how do you make a record or how do you produce a single, take us through the process. Do you know going in the way you want it to be arranged, or do you kind of go with the flow, how the session is going to kind of make the tweaks?
Well, a little bit of both. If you're an artist that wants to record a song or an EP, 5-6 songs, or an entire album, it's being prepared ahead of time is always key. I mean, I guess with anything with a lot of moving parts and a lot of different stages, you could say that about anything, any job, any project. The more prepared you can be beforehand, the better the workflow will be, the more efficient, time, cost, everything, and you'll get a better result, a better product. So, preparation ahead of time is key. So usually, what will happen is, like, to even just say one song. Well, if we can use Zach as an example, because Tuesday evening, Zach, Sean, and I were at a studio going over the next song that he wants to do. So we spent 4 hours listening to the song, soloing tracks, because he as a artist, as a songwriter, he's demoed it out. So he knows his way around Pro Tools enough to demo out tracks and even like get some sounds going, some effects going and stuff. And So we just spent a bunch of time going over it. I made some notes. It's sometimes it's a luxury to be able to do that, but it's important wherever possible to really try and be prepared. Then you get in the studio and you have a game plan, right? It's like, if you're a football team, you don't want to go onto the field without a strategy, just without a plan of attack, just a route mapped up. And then from there, you always got to leave room to go with the flow. We will get together again before hitting the studio and actually map out some parts. We're gonna speaking of guitar, I'm gonna demo out some guitar parts. Well, I'm hearing a thing like this, and I'll kind of plunk it around, and then we'll most likely hire one of the many amazing guitar players that we know to come in and lay that down, and also hear their ideas. They'll hear the song and go, hey, I could do a little thing like this, and we could go, oh, that's really cool, let's get that down. Which is what happened on Zach's last song, Take
My Time was a great single from Yasin, and
all kinds of ideas that we would have never thought of, but he said, I was listening to it and I thought I could do a little thing here like this. I said, great. And he just laid down a ton of ideas. So there's like preparation, and then you get in there and you go with the flow. Kev, at that point,
obviously you and Zach, you guys work really well together, but being in your position, sometimes when you're working with these artists, some artists can be really, really particular about certain things, yet it's not necessarily the right way. And how do you deal with that situation, like when what's right for the artist but they're not really like cooperating? How do you kind of navigate that whole situation? Because some artists can be pretty I want it this way.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question, and that is a tricky scenario. I always say any business that you're in, every business is a people business, right? At its core. So it's super important in this side of it, and working with artists. Artists are people too, and there's emotion involved in it. It's not necessarily a purely technical thing or just a simple business transaction. This is their creation that comes from within. So they're passionate about it, and sometimes very particular, and sometimes very protective, and whatever else. So you definitely have to be sensitive to that. In my opinion, I don't think it helps to not voice my opinion. I'm kind of there to be an opinion, a voice of reason, or just help. The main thing is to help execute their vision and make it the best it can be. And you're right, oftentimes things will come up that are, I don't want to say severely as like self-sabotaging or anything, but there can be instances where the artist wants to go in a direction that might not be the best thing for the song or whatever. It depends on what we're talking about, because sometimes it's just simply a matter of opinion. Like it could be this, it could be this. This one, subjectively might be better than this one, but it's all just opinion. And at the end of the day, you do have to pick your battles, and both on my end and on their end, we've got to be objective and go, you know what, either of these will work. There isn't like an issue with either of these musical ideas. So let's set the egos aside and go with what's best for the song. Or if it's a matter of, for me, the way I look at it is, if it's a matter where we have two good musical ideas, I might like my idea better personally, but the artist likes their idea better, I'll go with the artist because it's their it's their song, it's their thing. So unless there's like an issue, a problem with the idea, no, I think it might conflict, because then we go to this section, or these chords and these notes kind of rub together in a weird way. And then even then, we might be able to modify their idea to take care of the thing that I'm hearing that could be an issue, and vice versa. So it's really all about collaboration in that case. And to collaborate with people, you really have to keep your ego in check and just be really open to ideas. Don't be too precious about it.
That's, you know what, I'm happy you said collaboration, because that's what I'm hearing from this conversation is just collaboration is the number one thing. Recording, or just kind of keep an open mind to, you know, new things or maybe new ideas. But on that note, I'm happy that we're talking about it. On your website, you said working with an artist is to bring their vision to life through the recording process. So with that said, was there like a project where you're going in there and the artist or band like, I want to do this, this is my vision, and then you go through that and I'm like, oh wait, now I'm seeing it, I understand what you're coming from. Was there like a moment in time where you kind of that you can pick out?
Yeah, that's I've done so many sessions and so many songs and so many, it's hard. So like there's varying degrees of it. It's such a dynamic process, and sometimes artists come in and they have the song laid out and they know a bunch of different parts. Like, okay, now I do a little guitar thing here like this. Okay, cool. And in some cases, it's very go with the flow. The artist has a vision and they have a bunch of parts mapped out, and they're coming to me because they want to, you know, execute that. Like I'll often go, okay, cool, I hear what you're trying to do, so let's divide it up and let's do a track of you playing this, but where you would normally play this part and then switch to this one, let's do that in 2 separate takes, because here's why that will sound better than if you just did it all at once. And they, oh great, cool. So there's very often there's kind of discovery as you go along. That's a normal part of it. Even if you do have things planned out and mapped out, it's you're not necessarily building something up from a blueprint. They're like you would, you know, if you're building a house, you want to know, or a car or a piece of machinery or anything like that. You want to know every measurement and you want to make it exact. Music isn't like that. I mean, some music is, but more often than not, there's varying degrees of improvisation or just things that come up along the way. You know, it's a winding path, and it could take any kind of route to get to the final goal. I'm trying to think of like a situation where it was like completely, you know, like a good example is Zach. His songs, he has like a very solid idea, but there's certainly a lot of, he's totally willing to go off in like a different direction, just be inspired by something in the moment and make that work for the song. And then when we go and you know, edit things together and comp things together, and even in the mixing stage, he's again totally willing to go, yeah, that part was cool, but maybe it should only be in this little section, or you know what, it's cool, but there's too much going on here, something's got to go, so let's take this out. So it's I don't know, it's hard to think of a specific example where something was like you know, the vision was revealed in like an aha moment. I think it might have been actually the best example of that would have been early on in when I was starting out as an assistant at studio, and I worked on an album with a band from the UK called Placebo, and it was a producer, David Bottrell, and the engineer was James Brown, not that James Brown.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like producer, engineer, and I was the studio assistant, just running around doing a million things at once. And being in that position as the assistant, I got to kind of sit back and watch the process happen. I was very involved, but once everything was plugged in and up and running, then I would just be on standby, waiting till they needed something else, like, you know, ready to set up another microphone or ready to switch over this or that or whatever. But watching them run the ship and how they, I had never heard the songs before. The producer had gone over the songs in advance with the band and stuff. So seeing that process and seeing the songs build up so like professionally and so not necessarily effortlessly, but just well executed. It was like a finely tuned machine. It was awesome to see that. And I really that was kind of a wow moment for me, because I was watching two like A-level, you know, decades of experience, award-winning producers and engineers do their thing
right in front of you too.
Right in front of me, and being involved, but being there, you know, being their you know, right-hand man. Hey, we need now. Okay, we're gonna do this. We need you to set up this. Boom. So I go and set it up and get things going. And so that was definitely a big aha moment. But early on, when I, you know, was still really learning about these things.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's always funny. It's always interesting finding, you know, industry people find like their wow moments where like, okay, this situation right now is the reason why I'm in here. Is like, this is awesome learning from the expert. But going off quickly to end off this interview, Dietz, tell me, or tell us, tell everyone, what was your first reaction meeting Zach and his music?
Oh, yeah. So, right. You guys had Zach on, Zach Yassin on your podcast just a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of told the story. So I was on staff at the studio, and Zach came in, and what did he say? He was like 18 years old. He was kind of like,
it was like he was a young pup, like 17, 18, something like that.
So like just out of high school. And I had been at the studio for a few years, I think, on staff. And when you work in a recording studio, you just do what they tell you to do. They're like, oh, someone's coming in to do this tomorrow. You're on the session, so you're doing it. So you don't necessarily know. You don't necessarily get to talk to the people beforehand. They just come in and do their thing, and you facilitate that. So Zach came in, and he was just gonna play like he had like an 11-minute long song on piano. Oh. And it was just a big long piano.
Oh God,
beat.
Zach. Oh no, buddy. Oh no, buddy.
He has come so far.
Oh, so
now he's writing these 3-minute like pop tunes they're getting hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube and hundreds of thousands of spins on Spotify and stuff. It's amazing.
You're giving me like stuff to chirp him about. So thank you. The 11-minute is definitely going to be in there.
Oh, definitely mention that to him. He'll have a good laugh. He remembers. He'll roll his eyes at that. But you know what? It's totally cool because it was his first time in the studio. He had this big long piano piece, and he kind of had to play it all at once because he wasn't like playing it to a metronome. So it was just a free form piece. So he had to kind of go through and do like a full take and pick the one that he liked. And if there was a little boom somewhere in there, it's really hard to fix when it's that kind of a piece. So he just came in and did his thing. So I think we did a few songs like that. And then he started coming in with friends of his and artists that he met at open mics and stuff. He's just like a massive music fan, and so same kind of deal. He was just seeking out music. I mean, wherever he could find it, I think, and just dove right in. And so soon he was coming in with other artists to work on their songs, and I think that he really got a knack for and really saw how the studio could be used to bring something to life. And he had all these ideas for other people's songs. So he would start bringing artists into the studio to essentially produce their music, which I would record and mix. So we did that with a number of artists, some friends of his and some singers that he met through open mics and things like that. And then throughout all of that, Zach kept making his own music, writing his own songs, co-writing with singers, and we would just work on that through the years, to the point where now, probably in the last year and a little bit, he's just been his songwriting has gotten so much better. He's learned so much about the production process. He just really absorbs all of it. He's just so into all of it that he can't get enough of it. But thankfully the songs aren't 11 minutes long anymore. They're like 3.5 minutes.
Oh, thank God.
But that's the journey. He's definitely an artist and a songwriter who has invested in his journey. And like he mentioned on the podcast last time, he said it was like 10 years ago that he came into the studio and we first met and started working together. So it in 10 years time of him doing like continuing to write and produce music and learn the tools of the trade and all this, it's been that long, and now his stuff is sounding great. It's getting a great response. It's a long road. Music is a long road, but any artist will tell you, like, it's just kind of what they have to do, and they're just invested in it. And on my end, it's the same thing. I've put in a lot of years into this, and there's still a lot more to go. The learning curve never ends, and there's always more to experience, more to learn. And I'm here for it. I love it. So Zach is an artist who I've grown with as well, right, through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So being able to work on his stuff has been amazing, and that's been a part of my journey and my growth as well. So happy to keep these circles growing and spend time working with someone for that length of time. You really get you grow together, and it's great. It's all about relationships.
All about relationships and maintaining those. So from the 11-minute song all the way of getting a haircut in the kitchen and finding out that you want a Juno. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Dietz, thanks, buddy, for coming on the podcast. Before we leave you, where can people find you?
I'm on all the things. I'm on the Facebook.
All things.
I'm on the gram. KevinDietzMusic.com. Although, dare I say, my website needs an update. But KevinDietzMusic.com.
We'll talk.
On
Instagram,
please help me. On Instagram, it's my last name, Dietz, Dietz, Dietztagram. That's the most clever thing I could come up with at the time.
Instagram. And your last name is so
that's a rock star.
Original that I'm sure you couldn't you find a username with like your last name in it? I mean, it's not how many Dietzes are out there.
I don't remember if I looked too hard for that or not, but I didn't want to do like Kevin Dietz Mixer or something like that. I was trying to be clever, so it stuck. It's got Dietz in it. You just search Dietz. I'm there.
You're there.
I'm the guy. I'm Dietz.
So at the end of the day, just search Dietz and then he'll pop up.
Dietz music, Dietz audio, Dietz something.
Dietz. Hey man, do you have the Dietz? Hey,
give me the Dietz.
Give me the Dietz. Dad jokes.
I've never heard that one before.
Oh, I know. Trust me. Anyway, so thanks Kev for coming on the podcast. If you need anything engineer-wise, producer, reach out to Dietz. He's your man. So if you guys want, or if you guys know of any artist, any industry professional who wants to come on the Inkster Podcast, let us know in the comments below. And the beta link, it's live, baby.
Yeah.
Go and get it, download it, use it, review it, share it with your friends, and let's grow this community, guys.
Inkster, baby. Do it.
Inkster,
Check
baby.
it out.
Stay creative.